All right, welcome everybody. Thanks for taking time to jump on today. We got some great information in store for you all. We've got a few guests here. And so whether you are watching this live, thank you for jumping on. If you're on the recording, Dr. Gillett is working on getting his video and audio connected. And so in the meantime, we'll jump into the information and until he can get on and get plugged in. But we got tons of info to be shared with you guys. And so, we first had announced this just a few short weeks ago, and we've had some really good sales come in from it. But I also think that this is a product that is not fully understood. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to jump back on again for a couple of reasons, right? Number one, flavonoids, many people have heard of them, but I don't think they're really understood at all whatsoever. And, currently right now, and we talked a little bit about this on the last Zoom, but currently right now, according to our, dietary guidelines put out by our lovely fellow federal government, they say that what is essential is vitamins and minerals, right? And they list those essential vitamins and minerals. But a lot of the science and a lot of the research is pointing to that flavonoids will be part of that essential piece here in the very near future, just because they're so beneficial for your body. And a lot of Dr. Gillett's studies and research has shown that. In fact, he a PhD, he actually led Dole Foods, their whole research program. And so nutritionally, there's not very many people on the planet that know more about what we should be taking in our body than him. And so I love the fact that not only he's here to share with us here soon, but we have a recording of him as well if he can't get the tech figured out. But also, his research, a lot of his research led to it. And so the story of this is what really drew me into it at first. Was actually talking to Logan, a couple months ago. He was telling me some projects he was working on, and he said, "Hey, here's what's going on with this product." I'm like, "Wait a second, like, how did this come to be?" The story is, you guys know me, I love stories, and so this is actually a research project in conjunction with the military, trying to figure out a way to let our soldiers that go out on mission that are away from normal, nutrient dense foods. They would always come back and that a higher percentage of them getting sick post-deployment. And it was a lot of times just because they were so depleted nutrition-wise. And so the conjunction with Dole Foods and the government was to figure out, hey, how can we give them in a very simple, obviously, that they can keep on them when they're out on mission, but keep them nutritionally sound when they're out on mission. And what we've found and what we've discovered is that this project, which is BioFlav now, is what they came up with. And so the science, the research, the returns they got from it are absolutely incredible. And what that's led to is just showing how important flavonoids are absolutely in our diet on a regular basis. And so I've done a little bit more research. I'm going to go into a little bit of that, and then we'll get Tell and Logan on, kind of get them to share a little bit if Dr. Gillett cannot figure out his tech. But so, for example, I'm a meat eater, right? If you guys that don't know me, I am carnivore. Yes, I mean, people ask me, like, what is my favorite food? It is definitely some chunk of meat. And so when the carnivore diet got a lot of traction a few years ago, it was something that really drew me in, just because that's what I like to eat, right? I think that's all we always kind of justify in our mind. Hey, this makes sense. This makes sense. But there was always something there that just is like, hey, cutting out, fruits, vegetables, like, there's something there. Obviously, a lot of people have seen incredible results from that diet. I think a lot of reasons, right? Typically there's no carbs, which means less sugar and less things in your body. So people see a lot of results with it. But it is also, I think, one of the best. And this is not a Zoom on the carnivore diet. I'm getting to the flavonoids, why I think it's so beneficial. It's one of the best deletion diets out there. If you go into a nutritionist or a doctor, especially a functional medicine doctor, and they can't figure out what's going on with your body, a lot of times they'll start eliminating certain foods to figure out if you have certain triggers, right? And so I think the carnivore diet is the best elimination diet on the planet, because all you're taking in is meat. And so there are many health benefits that come from it. But I also think that long term, you can add it in. And so from that diet, there's a guy I follow on Instagram. He calls it the meat-based. And so basically, it is anything that comes from an animal, right? Eggs, butter, meat, but then also berries, right? Fruits and berries. And he's got a lot of science to back it up. And so he's getting that flavonoids in with that. We've seen the keto diet. I think that Logan will talk a little about the keto diet. But I think that the benefits from these flavonoids are, tenfold. So Logan, maybe share your experience a little bit that, not only nutritionally and diet wise, but also how you kind of led, to be really attracted to this. And I know that this is not just a business thing for you. It's a passion project to get, as many people nutritionally sound, not only those that are on specific diets who are typically, nutrient depleted, but just the everyday person out there that's not getting what they need from foods.
Yeah, no, it's well said. I like those types of diets. I did keto for quite a while. Really liked it. And with diets like that, and you kind of brought this up, was not only is it one of the reasons why they work is because like on keto and things like that, it becomes really hard to snack. Because most snack foods aren't foods that you would find on those diets. Like no one snacks on steak or chicken. It's like bag of Doritos, pack of Skittles, whatever it is. And so like when you're really trying to do those diets well, they, by just following them, do a nice job of keeping you from eating a lot of things that, increase your calorie content and things like that. And so like that's a big reason why a lot of people lose a lot of weight on it, is because it's tough to like, yeah, I guess I could go snack on deviled eggs and things like that, but it's just so inconvenient. And then like, you just don't want to do it. You end up eating, more nutrient dense foods.
Yeah.
A
Now
little
that
bit
now
more often. Okay, I
You're
think
good.
you can hear me, I believe.
yeah, we're
I
good.
can hear you. You're good.
Okay.
But
We,
there was
we've
all,
been,
to me,
Logan's
there was
been
always
doing a
something
phenomenal
missing.
job. Yeah, Logan's doing a phenomenal job of talking. So we're glad that you're on, and definitely thanks for jumping on. Sorry we had a little tech issue there for sure.
Yeah, no, carry on, Logan. I'll listen to you.
Yeah, I was just kind of mentioning that, a lot of these types of diets like keto and things like that, they work well. And one of the reasons that they work well is because they just naturally cut out a lot of snack foods. And so it becomes harder to overeat too much on like chips and candy and, sweets and things like that, because it kind of just eliminates all of that. And so now
So
when
we were
your
just talking
choices
diets
are
in
less,
general.
yeah.
Yeah, diets in general, about how a lot of them work just because you're lowering calories, right? Same thing. Like we know that, the shots, whether it's Ozempic or semaglutide or all the different shots that are going right now, because on the bottle it says, hey, this is for weight loss support. We know that a lot of it's just because they're not getting enough calories, and a lot of that's that lead into side effects. So we're just talking about, hey, all the different benefits that can come from different benefits. But I've been challenged a little bit, Dr. Gill, and I'm glad you have on. So those of you that have not been on a Zoom or met him, I mean, this is one of like the authorities when it comes to what you should be putting in your mouth, nutrition wise, nutrient density wise. I mean, the government's trusted him, in the project to actually create this here. Obviously, he led the research for one of the largest food companies on the planet with Dole, and so we're blessed to have you on. We're excited to learn from you. But I've been challenged a little bit on, people who are, really well versed and have been in this, nutrition space, this health and wellness space for years. And they're like, hey, I've never heard that these are essential. We know that vitamins are essential, minerals are essential, but it's never been put out there. So maybe in your own way, if they're so great, and I'm, challenging you a little bit here, but why are they not talked about?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. And the reason is really that we're mainly understanding a lot about them now and in the last few years. And one of the reasons is, classically with nutrients, people want to know how much you need, right? And that's easy to answer for vitamins and minerals, especially after World War II, when people were thinking about nutrition a bit more because things were scarce. You get a deficiency disease if you don't consume enough of a vitamin or a mineral. And that disease shows up really quick. And so you notice the symptoms. For example, if you don't get enough vitamin C, you get scurvy. I, as an English person, know that from the old stories of having limes on the boat when they came across to the US and all that. Well, that was to give you vitamin C. And if you didn't get it, you got scurvy, you started bleeding from the gums and everything. It happened really quickly. So there's a really short-term health consequence with vitamins and minerals. the understanding with flavonoids is that it's really a long-term health consequence. And so you tend not to notice it till much later in life. And so that's why people haven't really responded to the research that much. So what we're understanding now is that I was kind of thinking of a suitable analogy, and I thought, you know, with a car, for example, if you stop putting gas in it, you'll run out in a day or two, right? But if you stop putting oil in it, you might run out of oil in a couple of months, even a year later. And so that's the kind of thing we're talking about here. It's a long-term health play, particularly with flavonoids. You need them daily, but you need them for long-term health. And because of that, it's hard, and there isn't a deficiency disease, it's hard to understand how much you need. Well, new research is now, in the last few years, showing us how much you need. And so that's why we're starting to talk about them now. And, you know, it's no surprise to almost everybody here on your webcast here is that the people who eat the most fruits and vegetables tend to live the longest, right? And why might that be? It's because that's the only natural source of flavonoids. That's what confers the longevity aspect, because you're getting them every day during the time you're eating fruits and vegetables. So that's really the answer to your question. It's more because it's a long-term health play, and because we've never really understood how much we need. And now we know the answers to both those questions.
So this typically, I mean, so technically with this product, obviously, I know you guys talk about weight loss support because that's a big need. Obviously, people who are nutrient deficient right now because of a caloric, deficit. But this is as much an anti-aging product as it is a, weight loss support as it's listed on the bottle. Would you say?
Yeah, I would sort of refer to it as a longevity product rather than an anti-aging product, because aging is a normal process. Unfortunately, it happens to all of us, and there's not really much we can do about it. Think about it as like a clock, and what you want to do is slow the clock down, right? You're not preventing the process, you're just slowing it down some. And that's what longevity is, right? And so as you consume flavonoids daily, you're giving yourself that protection, which effectively slows the clock down, right? And so you end up, being healthier during the time. And in a situation like these weight loss strategies of varying degrees, whether it's GLP-1 or bariatric surgery or just regular diet and exercise, you need to make sure that the nutrients you are getting fulfill all the needs in your body. And the longevity one should not be overlooked, because if you're consuming less and you're having less and less nutrients coming into your system, it's even more important they're the right ones. And to have a gap like you would experience with a poor quality diet where you don't have fruits and vegetables in it, that ends up being more important then.
So with this being weight loss support, I had a couple people that challenged me over the last couple of weeks, like, hey, people are already losing weight, doing what they're doing, GLP-1, traditional diet. Why is this needed, and what does it actually do? What's its role and function if people are already losing weight with what they're doing?
Yeah, well, I think it's important for people to realize that there's a difference between weight loss and healthy weight loss. Just being lighter isn't necessarily healthier. It might aesthetically look more pleasing in the mirror, and I'm sure that's a big driver for a lot of people when they're trying to lose the weight, right? But you should also want to be healthy as well with that. And your health is a direct consequence of the nutrient profile you take in, right? And so when you're on a good, healthy diet and you're eating lots of fruits and vegetables and you're not overweight, you don't have to worry about a thing. You're good. But if you're in a diet where you're restricting food group intakes like fruit, or you're restricting overall calorie intake by just simply eating less food, then by definition, you're eating less fruits and vegetables than you were before. So you're reducing your intake. What this product does is fill that gap so that you're getting the nutrients you need no matter what your weight loss strategy is. Because when you're on a weight loss strategy, your body is on the sort of bare bones of existence, if you like. That's why you're losing the weight, because your calorie deficit is counting towards that. And so you need the nutritional support while that's happening. You need protein, you need the right carbs, you need the right healthy fats. You also need the flavonoids. And that's what this product does, is it fills that gap.
I know you mentioned a little bit ago, you talked about how the science in the last just, year, 2, 3 years is talking about how much is needed on a daily basis. Is that sufficient to what is in the BioFlav product?
Exactly. We formulated the product to deliver that amount. So there's a wonderful study that I can provide the reference to, and they have a nice little figure in there which shows a risk of death, I guess is the best way to call it. And so your risk of death decreases, i.e., you live longer, as the milligrams per day of flavonoids increases, and it comes down nicely, and then it plateaus, and it plateaus at about 500 milligrams, 400 to 500 milligrams, something like that. Our product provides 340 because we know that everybody's background, whether they like it or not, is about 100. So you add in another 340, you're right on that plateau. And so you're getting the amount of flavonoids you need per day, which is consistent with the science that says you live the longest. Now, the interesting thing about that number is that if, let's say, you were the most healthy person in the world and you ate all the fruits and vegetables you could eat during a day, and you added up the number of milligrams of flavonoids you get, guess what it is? It's about 340 to 400 milligrams. So all we're doing really is giving you the amount that nature would give you if you ate healthily anyway. And because it's a plateau, there's no real risk reward benefit to taking more, right? Because it's a plateau. You've stabilized at the plateau area. You're taking in what you need. Your body is able to use it, and you're creating the longevity effect which results from that. So now we know that. That's a great way of understanding what we need from a health perspective.
Yeah, I love a couple of the explanations you just used there. Number one, I love the fact that we can, in our busy life, right? Like what is the problem with the standard American diet? And I know there's people here that are in different parts of the world, but the problem is that everyone's so busy and they've just created a whole lifestyle around that you have to, get it now, right? So everything is fast, which means typically the stuff that's fast is not necessarily the best nutrition for you. So one little capsule a day, get your minimal effective dose. I also love the fact you talked about, the risk reward on dying. I look at that a lot. So, I sit in sauna. Why? Because the percentage says that the risk of dying goes down substantially if you use sauna.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with cold therapy, right? And so taking a little simple capsule sounds a lot easier and simpler than 30 minutes and 100 and whatever degree sauna. And
right. I think you hit on something really important there. Whatever you do in your life, all the lifestyle behaviors you have, it's all about putting you that they all sort of go together and they all kind of overlap. And there's a zone where they kind of almost all overlap. And that zone is the zone you want to be in. And it consists of being the right weight. It consists of having the right amount of physical activity during the day. It consists of eating nutrient-dense foods. It consists of not smoking, getting enough sleep, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, one of those overlapping pieces is flavonoid intake, which you would normally get from fruits and vegetables. But you're so right. This convenience-based world we live in at the moment, with the speed with which we live it and the little free time we get, it's so gratifying to be able to know that you can take a capsule like this, get your flavonoid intake, and let's say, you know for a fact that you're not going to be eating any fruits and vegetables that day. It's insurance. You don't have to worry about it, right? You're good to go. Let's say you're going to eat some strawberries in the afternoon and you've got an apple and you can eat some bananas. Okay, it doesn't matter if you skip it and make your month's supply last a little bit longer. It's good, right? But it's understanding that it's a daily thing you need, and this is a really easy way to get it. And the science that we've done on the actual product supports the fact that it actually works, puts you in the right place, and can accomplish what it would do if you ate fruits and vegetables.
And that's huge, right? It's the validation, the science that backs up. But I'm going to expand on one thing you said, so all these things that on a daily basis that we should, right, to get your minimal effective dose in, right? Everyone says 10,000 steps. certain calories, right? Certain vitamins, certain minerals. Some people do integrate heat therapy, cold therapy, because it makes you, harder to kill, right? A lot less chance of dying, all the things that you can.
Yes.
This literally is one of the simplest things that's out there on the planet to get that, minimal effective dose baseline, is taking a little simple capsule. So I love that. Number one.
Yeah.
Number two, you hit on that. You guys have clinicals that back it up. So in my space, and I've been in the nutrition space, the health and wellness space, marketing products for, 15 years now, maybe longer than that. And there's a lot of science that's out there. There's a lot of clinicals that are out there, to back it up. But typically, the large majority of the time, that is done on ingredients, not necessarily finished product. So
Yeah.
I want you to kind of expand on what you just hit on, the science that backs up what yours does, and maybe talk on the clinical a little bit that goes and shows that proof.
Yeah, that's a really, really interesting question, because you're right. There's a lot of ingredient based things, but you don't eat ingredients, do you? You eat food, right? And so ascertaining, and it's a scientist's problem, right? We want to know. People might say, let's say strawberries stop you from having heart disease. A scientist will go, yeah, that's interesting, but what is it in the strawberries that stops you from getting heart disease? So we're driven to finding out and segmenting out all the different things that are in there and which one's doing it, right? And so, part of the role of a clinical is to ascertain that aspect. You take out the variables, you do an intervention based study, you have a control group, and you find out what the effect is, and you minimize the confounding factors and things like that. It's a big old scientific way of saying, I'm just trying to find out what's going on. And the great thing about flavonoids is, because they enter the system in a different way to vitamins and minerals. Vitamins and minerals get absorbed just after the stomach. Flavonoids make it all the way down to the colon and get chomped on by the gut bacteria that are in there, and then the little metabolites that come off there float into the system, and they're the actives that work. And because they come in that different route, they don't necessarily need to be in the matrix that's the whole fruit, right? So it's one of the only supplement ideas that you can actually have that works, and it doesn't need to be in a matrix like an orange or a banana or something like that. Vitamins and minerals are a little bit different. They kind of need all that stuff to be absorbed properly. Flavonoids don't. So it's easy to do a clinical on them because of that reason. You can lessen the variables very easily. And because of that, we used our actual product in the clinicals. We did it in athletes because we know there's a reduction in oxidative stress and a reduction in inflammation. That's the mechanism with which these things act. And we've shown it across 3 or 4 studies that these things show up in the system. They're chomped on by the microflora in the colon. Those metabolites show up in your blood. And when they're in your blood, they cause things to happen which reduce inflammation. And so knowing that the product actually does that rather than the specific ingredient is a great thing. I'm going to say right now that if we'd repeated that exact study but gave them all blueberries and strawberries, we'd have seen the same thing, right? Because that's what's happening. All the vitamins and minerals from those foods are getting absorbed first. The flavonoids in them are going down to the colon, and they're just going in the exact same way as our product does, and they produce the exact same effect. So really, there's a really good body of evidence to show that this product actually works, actually shows up, and actually does something once it's there.
I love it. I love how you explained it too. Now, I'm going to try to simplify it a little bit, because I've been in the marketing space, I guess you'd say, in the health and wellness for years, right? So what people market are different things. They market things that they try to create differentiations in the marketplace, right? So you can take product A, product B, nutrition panel looks the same, but product B will say, hey, ours is better because it actually gets absorbed and used in the body. And what you just explained is the fact that the flavonoids, and specifically in what BioFlav is, it doesn't necessarily need to be wrapped in an orange or some sort of thing to get absorbed in the body, because there are so many people that take supplements and very few of them actually are used in the body. It's a very small percentage typically, right?
Yeah.
There are some compounds that, you know, the bioavailability is, you know, 3% to 14%. So you take 100 milligrams and your body actually only uses 3 milligrams. So the fact that it doesn't have to be in that compound to be absorbed, gets all the way to the colon, and to where it can be used just like you are taking in those fruits and vegetables is massive. That's exciting.
Yeah, and it's actually got a double effect because, like I said, the gut microflora that are down there in the colon, they love that stuff, so they eat it, and it's the metabolites of those things that flood into the system. Well, guess what? You're making your gut microflora flourish as well, right? Because that's food to them. So not only do you get these compounds going into the blood that help you, you encourage the gut microflora to be healthy and be of a profile that is helpful for your existence as well. So there's a double take there.
Awesome. And then you hit on inflammation. I know the last time we hit on it a little bit, but to me, this is massive, right? If you can do things out there that eliminate inflammation in your body, to me, it is the root cause of everything that's bad. And so you said in your clinical, it actually shows proof that obviously by implementing flavonoids in the system that are absorbed and used by the body, it is reduced inflammation. Is that measured in the clinical? Because if I went at it, it looks like hieroglyphics to me. I know if I were to go to the clinical, but what kind of measurement or something can you show based on that clinical?
Yeah, for example, well, the reason we did it in athletes are kind of interesting because you can oxidatively stress and inflame. Sorry?
I love that you did it in athletes.
Yeah, and the reason is you can do things to them, right? They don't mind.
Not only do they not mind, but here's the thing though. Athletes typically are healthy, right? They're typically performing at their best, which means that they are active. They're physically active. Typically athletes put better nutrition in their body. They usually eat better. And so if you were to do a clinical with an athlete group compared to an unhealthy group, you're going to see completely different results. So I think a lot of the clinicals you see out there on the market, and there's been lawsuits from the FDA, from the FTC on clinicals, basically saying, hey, yeah, of course you can lose 10 pounds, but if you give it to a group that needs to lose 300 pounds, of course they're going to lose 10 pounds, right? But if you give it to a group of athletes, it's a lot less chance that you're going to see increase in health factors because they're already healthy. So I love that.
Well, and the great thing about them is that you can oxidatively stress and inflame them by getting them to do silly things that we would never do, right? In one study we did, we got them to run a marathon on Monday, a marathon on Tuesday, and then a marathon on Wednesday. And they were toast. They were oxidatively stressed, inflamed, didn't want to finish, slow times, everything. But they recover in a few days, right? So it's a way of seeing these inflammation products build up to be really high and then go away during the recovery period. What we saw in our clinical trials is that the inflammation products didn't build up as high in the first place. And then because they didn't build up so high, the recovery period was quicker. And that type of inflammation is the exact same type of inflammation that you see in obese individuals as a background level. And we've done several studies in the research campus where I work, which shows that the compounds that sort of cause this inflammation and are exhibited by the inflammation are the exact same compounds that float around the system in people who are in various disease states and are overweight and obese. And in the athlete, you never see those compounds, right? Because they're not overweight and they're not obese, they're healthy. But when you exercise them, these compounds shoot up really high, right? And then you suddenly can see them. It's like peeking over the top, and then suddenly they're all there. And then you can get them to go away again, which is the great thing, because unfortunately with people who are overweight and obese, it takes a long time for that to be fixed. So it's really expensive to follow people like that for 5 years, 10 years, and see if that inflammation goes away when you're doing various different things. With an athlete, that inflammation can go away in 24 hours. So it's really, really easy to see whether you've made an impact on them when you give them something. So we always do a control where we don't give them anything, or a double-blind placebo. We had a double-blind placebo control for these studies. So we actually had a capsule that looked the same, tasted the same. They couldn't tell the difference. In fact, after the study, you asked them, which one do you think you had? And what you're hoping for is half of them to get it wrong, because then you know you've totally fooled them, right? Because they're guessing A or B. And so that happened, right? So they couldn't tell which one it was. So it was a proper double-blind placebo-controlled study. Yeah, and we saw a 50% reduction in the one of the products of inflammation in the cyclist study that we did. So it's kind of like, you know, there's no need to send the fire brigade out to the fire if the fire hasn't even started yet. And that's kind of what this does. It sort of prevents inflammation from getting so high that you need to have somebody sort it out. And that's what it does. And so taking them every day, allowing those metabolites to build up, and really putting yourself on that heightened sense of surveillance, that's where the trick is. And when you do that with athletes, they don't get as inflamed as much when they exercise.
It's insane. I mean, I'm thinking about all the things that, you know, inflammation causes, obviously, right? And just the small little benefit that can do. Obviously, we've talked longevity, we've talked a little bit about weight loss, but from the business sense, you know, we have a lot of people on here that are here, you know, because they want to go share something, right? And we're gonna have some more marketing tools that come out. We'll get some more science stuff loaded in the digital office for you guys to share. But there was a company years ago, they had a clinical done on their vitamin complex that they had, vitamin mineral complex they had done. And I believe, if I remember correctly, it's been about 9 or 10 years, but it was about a 35% decrease in inflammation. And they rode that marketing story when they're now a $2 billion a year company and do incredible results literally off of that, because, you know, people know the benefit that is. And to be able to take it with one capsule here, you guys have the science on that finished product. That's definitely incredible. So just switching subjects a little bit, tell Logan, is anything you guys want to add on or take away to, or a better question that I should be asking because you guys know the product so well?
Yeah, I just want to kind of bring it back full circle, because we started out with the car analogy with the gas versus the oil type of a thing, where, you know, vitamins and minerals, that's the gasoline, and the flavonoids are the oil. I feel like a good way to think about that is most of us are probably walking around with our oil light on. And yeah, you can take your car and drive it down the street with low oil and you'll make it. But if you're chronically low on oil in your car, day after day, month after month, year after year, what's going to happen? Things are going to break down faster. You're going to have to get rid of that car a lot sooner. And so by having the appropriate amount of flavonoids in your body, that's like having the appropriate amount of oil in your car. You're not overheating. Like, that's another thing with like the inflammation. It's like you're driving with low oil in your car, your engine's going to overheat a lot faster. And so like this is
play, turn your service engine light off. There you
yes.
go.
Right. Yeah. And so I think that's a good, simple way to think about it, is just like, hey, I wouldn't drive my car around with low oil for years, right? And so if I know my oil level is appropriate every day when I get in my car, I'm taking care of the engine way better. And it's less likely to break down and die sooner. Like, oh, that car is going to last much longer. And so that's, I think, a good analogy to think of, like, why do I need these every day? Well, I'm protecting my own engine. I'm protecting my own, you know, just faculties of staying healthy and having longevity and performing better for longer. So that's the way that I think about it, especially as an athlete, is, you know, I want to perform. I feel like I'm a race car, or I want to be a race car. You don't drive a race car with low oil. That's just, you know, something's gonna blow out a little too soon, and you're not going to be happy with it. So I think that's a good way to think about it. So I'm glad
we're not athletes anymore, Logan. I know it's a hard.
Yeah.
Been a few years, my friend.
I'm trying to hang on to it.
Let it go. Let it go. I'm just kidding.
It's an interesting story, actually. My old boss, who I used to work for at Dole, the billionaire David Murdoch, who owned all those, he could never understand why people looked after their cars better than they look after themselves. Great. And that was his drive, right? You put washer fluid in, you change the oil, you put gas, you wash it, you do all these things. People don't do that to their bodies. He could never understand that. And I think it's a really important thing, that you do need to be as diligent about your health as you do about everything else you have in your life.
And would you guys say, obviously on the bottle, it says weight loss support, right? And would you guys say one of the reasons that that's a big target is because typically those that are dieting, right? It's that yo-yo diet. Typically they're just nutrition depth. And obviously it's a large percentage of the population as well too. But are you saying that, is there a concern that the people that are on a diet or doing some sort of diet that need more help than others? Is that one of the reasons why you would say that it's on the bottle, or that it is a target market?
I would say that the thing that makes it really important is when you go on these weight loss diets, especially GLP-1, because it works so well, is because you experience this rapid decline in calorie intake. You also are experiencing a rapid decline in food intake. And even poor quality foods contain something, right?
Right.
But if you're just eating the same poor quality stuff as you ate before, just less of it, then you're consuming even less. And so the reason it's important that you support your weight loss is because you're going to experience nutrient deficits. And you do not want to be experiencing nutrient deficits, short term or long term, when you're sort of reducing your food intake, because there's nothing else going in the tank, right? And so the body is brilliant at looking after itself if it's got everything it needs. As soon as you start to give it or to prevent it from having the nutrients it needs, problems creep in, disease risk goes through the roof, your enjoyment of life starts to deteriorate. So it's just a way of ensuring that when you're going through this weight loss strategy that you're thinking about, that you ensure you get the best outcome, right? Which is being healthy at the weight you want to achieve once you've got to that place. There's no point in being 50 pounds lighter if you're just unhealthy and you get sick all the time, and maybe God forbid your risk of cancer is higher now, right? That's the thing you have to avoid at all costs. I would say it's you can see the weight loss, you can't see the nutrition you're getting really, but you can do something about it, and I think that's the important thing. They come together.
And that's a huge number of people. I mean, I know it varies in different countries around the world. I know we have some people on here from different countries, but here in the US, I mean, the number changes, but it's a large number. 60-70% of people are considered obese.
Yeah.
And of that, there's a good percentage of those that are typically on a diet, yo-yo back and forth. And so it's safe to say that you guys have a large number of people in your contact list, social media, on your phone, that are dieting at some sort of way that would see massive benefit health-wise, overall health-wise, being on this product. And so reaching out to people, let them know, educating them, you can definitely help them out substantially, and obviously as well, move things forward wise, business wise. I did just get one question that came in. It says on the bottle, it says the serving size is 1 capsule, but it says to take 1 capsule twice a day. So is the 2 capsules, is that your minimal dose that you need to get the
those 2 capsules give you the 340 plus milligrams per day.
Okay.
But as with most nutrients, it's best if you get them throughout the day rather than all in one go in the morning. So that's what the suggestion is. Take a capsule in the morning and take another one at lunchtime or in the afternoon. And then you're spreading your dose out over the day. And if you stick to that regimen day after day after day, then you're getting a steady flow of these compounds going into the system.
Okay, perfect. Appreciate it. Any closing thoughts, Logan, Dr. Gillett?
Well, yeah, I think one other thing is, we kind of touched on, I just wanted to make it a little bit more clear. We started out the conversation talking about like keto and carnivore and things like that. And you can still get a lot of vitamins and minerals eating that way. The only way to get flavonoids is through plant foods. And especially like on keto and things like that, you basically just cut fruits out completely. And so you're basically cutting flavonoids out. And so it's a great way to diet, and there's a lot of health benefit and things like that, but you are missing out on this. Yeah. On that diet. So this is just a simple way to get those back in for free, basically, because there's no calories, there's no sugar in these capsules. You're still keto, you're still staying in ketosis, all these types of things. And that's why, kind of the keto community was really seeing a benefit with this. It was like, okay, cool. So I don't have to actually eat fruits and vegetables and deal with that sugar content and things, but I get that health benefit.
Yeah.
I get to keep like the oil in my car at the appropriate level.
I
And
got, I got stuck in a grocery store line the other day, and there was some technology checking out or whatever. So there's a whole line of people, and I get antsy. It drives my wife crazy, but I go through and talk and, be silly and stupid. But it's pretty safe to say that hardly anyone I don't know if anyone in those lines had the percentage or the amount of fruits compared to all the other food in their shopping cart to where they're getting their daily dose of fruit and flavonoids in a day. So yeah, I think the people that are on diets, it's low hanging fruit, right? Per se, but people to go talk with. But the more that I talk, the more I look at this, the more I'm convinced that everyone should be taking this product just to get in as an insurance guard that, hey, I'm hitting my minimal effective dose of what I need flavonoids wise.
Yeah, and I would say from a nutritionist's perspective, be diligent about your long-term health as well as your short-term health. We all want to stay on this planet as healthy as we can for as many years as we can and experience life the way we want to experience it. Long-term health is just as important as short-term health. If we don't tend to look at the horizon that much, it's still important when you get there. So diligently thinking about long and short-term health, I think, is a successful way of thinking about health strategies.
I love it. Anything else in closing?
I think that's a good place to end it.
Awesome. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you guys so much for jumping on. We'll definitely get some more marketing pieces out to you, but this is something that you guys can put in your stories. You can start texting out to people, letting people know. I think that the benefits that people will get from this, yes, longevity wise, right? And the science to show, but even in the short term standpoint, for me, I even just have a better feeling of energy knowing that I'm taking and getting my fruits on a daily basis, right? Like if I have one of those days where I'm a little off nutritionally, don't eat as well, like I feel better from the standpoint that, hey, I took my BioFlav and I got my fruits and vegetables with my flavonoids in. And so I think this is something, and it's something we know proven by science that it's not just wasted capsule that we think is doing something great. It's something that it's actually getting our body and being used. And so if you haven't jumped on the product, definitely order it, but definitely get out, share it. This is something that I'm getting more and more excited about to get out and share with other people, and we can make a massive difference. So appreciate it, guys. We'll get some more of that stuff loaded in the digital office and some more things coming up. Hey, we even talked yesterday on a potential little short video to make it easier to share, to get out there. And we appreciate it, guys. You have a great week and a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Yeah, thank you.